As one college football season comes to a close, another not all that far away. College football is always a blend of the historic tradition, the present of what we are seeing, and always an eye on the future. So let's talk 2025 in CFB. Still more than 200 days away from week 0 over in Dublin, Ireland, in Farmageddon between Iowa State and Kansas State. I am already fired up, and those national championship odds are already out. Ohio State, who won a title this season, booked as the preseason favorite entering next year at 5-1. Zeno, let's start there. I don't actually think that's correct. Ohio State will always reload. They do not rebuild. But a lot of the guys that were the staples of a team that won a national championship this year all came back for one more run. And all of those guys are going to go to the NFL. Ohio State's probably going to have double-digit guys drafted in 2025. So, Zeno, how do you examine the top of the odds board to win a national championship entering next season?
I mean, again, it's really tough to figure out when you look at it. I mean, the idea that you're getting Georgia at 7-1 and Alabama at 18-1 almost, seems foreign to the concept of what we've seen anything over the last decade. But again, you have to believe when you look at the SEC from a quarterback standpoint, is it fair to say Texas has the best one in the conference at this point? Feels that way. I mean, with all the expectations for Arch Manning, it's like, I don't doubt the fact that he would live up to it. Oregon is in an interesting, spot here because who's going to play quarterback for them again? Where are they going? I mean, I know they grabbed what's his face from UCLA, Dante Jones, right?
Dante
the young
Moore.
kid, Dante Moore. Thank you. But it was 5 letters, Jones, Moore, same difference. Potato on top.
Dante, so.
Yeah, exactly. So is he going to live up to the hype that he had when he came into UCLA a couple of years ago? Don't know the answer to that. So there's a lot of, fluctuating things that are going on here and, transfer portal and everything else continuing to shake things up. I would probably look at some other long shots within the ACC or even the Big 12 at this point in time to look and make a little noise similar to what Arizona State did this year and be able to make a run. I mean, from a betting perspective, that's the one thing that opens the aperture up when it comes to looking at futures, because now you got 12 teams with a chance to get in and 12 teams with a chance to. So some of these longer odds teams, I mean, does Carson Beck reload at Miami? Does that make them equally as good this year? I don't know the answer to that yet, but it's one of those things where is it worth a look when you're starting to get some longer odds here? Garrett Nussmeier back at LSU at 20-1. Doesn't feel like it's all that crazy that LSU could rise from the ashes a little bit, be a lot more competitive this year if you trust Brian Kelly. So I think with the 12-team playoff, it certainly gives you a bigger reason to start looking at odds differently.
Yeah, it's a good point that you bring up because it used to be you want to thread the needle like, one loss. Well, what about when Alabama has these 3 tough road games in the SEC? Now they can afford to lose 2 of those and still get in. So it keeps your tickets open for longer, which is fantastic. But I do want to focus on the Heisman Trophy odds for next year because I look at this and say to myself, usually the stars right off the bat. And when I see Garrett Nussmeier at an 8-1 price as the favorite right now, Garrett Nussmeier, I said, what are we playing jokes here? We just watched Drew Aller. It was like, hey, maybe it could be a top 5 quarterback turn into a pumpkin right in front of our eyes. Like, yeah, he's top 5 for the Heisman race. Give me some rays of sunshine with this Heisman race here, Mark. Where are we going with this crew? I
mean, look, I think Nico in Tennessee has the probably highest ceiling and the highest potential as a dual threat kind of quarterback. I know, I get it. But another year, right? Another year in the system, another year to sort of grow and elevate. I think that when I look at the skill set of other guys who have won it over the years, it's usually dual threat guys that are literally rushing to the top of the list to end up being the Heisman guy who does it. So I would look in those directions first, guys who can run and throw as guys that I would look at. I mean, does Cade Klubnik sort of scratch the itch a little bit? Maybe. I think Clemson probably maybe under the radar a little bit after what looked like a disappointing year despite getting into the college football playoff. They may be by far and away the best team in the ACC. And if you're winning games and you're going undefeated, you're going to get a lot of extra attention. And Klubnik could be the guy to do that as well. So, but if Arch Manning as Texas inside the top 5 for a better part of the year, and they don't lose more than one game, his numbers are going to back that up, and he should have a very explosive year.
It was interesting to see these odds open up on Monday evening and see Garrett Nussmeier in front of Arch Manning because of all that Arch has heading his way in Austin. The aura and the performances and the glimpses that we saw this season to kind of back up what we can expect for the Longhorns. If you're asking me to pick somebody right now who I would bet on to either win a Heisman Trophy or contend for a national championship, I do believe Texas is probably the most appealing, not just Arch Manning, but all they return on the defensive side of the football as well. Colin Simmons, Michael Taft, all back for that Texas defense that was elite this year. Carson Beck entered 2024 at Georgia as the Heisman Trophy favorite. He will enter 2025 at Miami, still with one of the 10 best prices at 20-1. I'm not sold just yet. Julian saying he's probably going to be the new quarterback for Ohio State at 18-1 price. Lenora Sellers of South Carolina. Jeremiah Smith, the wide receiver, a 12-1 numbers. You know, I like what you said about Cade Klubnik, by the way. When you really peer into the numbers for Clemson this year, it was an atrocious defense. One of the worst we had seen under Dabo Swinney in Clemson, South Carolina, that held the Tigers back. And it was a stagnant offense the previous 3 seasons that in year number 2 with Garrett Riley calling the plays was on the up and up. And Cade Klubnik, a big reason why. I like the way that you assess some of those value pieces and prices entering 2025. Man, can't come soon enough. Already excited.
Rare compliment from Ben Stevens to me. That was warmed my heart.
Yeah. Rare compliment.
You know?
Very highly of what.
No better compliment.
Very highly of your work.
I know you do. You can't even say it with a straight face. Can't even say it with a straight face.
No, I'm laughing at Donnie. You didn't even notice what he did. Once again.
Yeah.
I would say slightly offensive. Conference championship Sunday in the NFL with Zeno next.